Hello everyone, it's Primal Logos back with another video. Today we're going to be looking at a video by Katie Couric that I thought was pretty interesting, and I'm trying to put that nicely. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it.
I would love to get your take on the rise of Christian nationalism in this country and around the world. Um, the University of Massachusetts at Amherst recently released a poll that shows how Americans are feeling with the 250th anniversary of our country.
Mm.
And there's a huge divide between Democrats and Republicans on the extent to which the U.S. should be a Christian country. Nearly 80% of Republicans believe the U.S. was founded as a Christian nation. 72% believe the government should advocate Christian values. 54% believe the U.S. should be declared a Christian nation. And I thought this was really disturbing. Another Public Religion Research Institute poll found that 56% of Republicans qualify as either adherents or sympathizers of Christian nationalism.
Okay, so first things first, they try to use these types of words to scare you. When they're saying Christian nationalism, all that they're really trying to say to us is people that think that Christian values should be more. They should be more ingrained in our culture. And I think that anybody who goes against that, they're usually they're misunderstanding what Christian values are, or they're foolish. I'll just put it that way, right? It's very clear that that the United States was founded upon Christian values, as well as some other supporting documents, right? The Magna Carta, etc., were all very important, but Christian values were a defining characteristic of the early of the early colonies, of the early documentation. A lot of these men were Christians in varying regards. Even I think one of the things that we didn't really learn about this in school, and I find it very interesting that we didn't. But one of the general orders, this is George Washington announcing to the Continental Army of the United States regarding the Declaration of Independence, right? So I'll point it out here. This is the super important part, but this is all one speech that was given. But he's going on and he's talking about provisions being given so that way they can find chaplains, etc., for the army. But the specific part here that I would like to read is, the colonels or commanding officers of each regiment are directed to procure chaplains accordingly, persons of good characters and exemplary lives, to see that all inferior officers and soldiers pay them a suitable respect and attend carefully upon religious exercises. The blessing and protection of heaven are at all times necessary, but especially so in times of public distress and danger. The general hopes and trusts that every officer and man will endeavor so to live and act as becomes a Christian soldier defending dearest rights and liberties of his country. It doesn't get more Christian values than that. I mean, it's literally a call to be a good Christian person because they need the divine protection and guidance of God. What do you mean we're not a religious country? Like, what are we talking about here? We're a Christian country. Here's another piece here. Religious oaths to hold public office were common, right? I think most people, I know Charlie Kirk is very famous for saying this. A lot of people pretend that it isn't true. 11 of the 13 original colonies, original states, adopted new constitutions in 1776. Or thereabout, anyways, not necessarily in the sense that in 1776, but thereabout. So a lot of them ended formal religious establishments, but most continued to require religious oaths of civil office holders, as it says, right? There are a couple of exceptions, chiefly Connecticut and Rhode Island. They didn't adopt new constitutions, but the constitutions of each of those did require office holders to be Protestants. So again, you had to be Protestant in order to even hold office there. So by default, essentially the same thing there. The states that allowed Protestants to hold office are listed there: Georgia, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Vermont. There's one other exception here. Of the new state constitutions adopted prior to Philadelphia Convention of 1787, only Virginia and New York constitutions declined to require religious oaths for civil servants. In New York, the absence of a constitutional provision addressing the matter of test oaths. State legislation continued to require a test oath that prevented Roman Catholics from holding office until the turn of the century. Now, obviously, we've gotten rid of this over time. I'm not arguing necessarily that we should or should not do that. If you want my honest opinion, I think we should do that. I think the country would be a lot better if we had good Christian people in office only. But that's my opinion, right? And if we live in a country that doesn't, I follow the Bible, right? I follow the Bible, and it says to essentially, paraphrasing here, but in the book of Romans it talks about to appeal to the authority of the government, right? The laws of the land are the laws of the land. I can't change those except try to with my votes. So they try to scare you with these verbiages of Christian nationalism. As if it's scary to advocate for your rights. It's okay for every other group to advocate and push and fight and argue, even violently, which we do not do. Fight for their rights and their beliefs, and that's perfectly fine. But if a Christian does it, it's labeled Christian nationalism, and it's to try to keep us in a box and to scare us, because Christians are the one group of people that cannot be controlled. Right? Every other religion, more or less, to varying degrees, can be controlled through some means or another. Right? Even say one of the ones that are the closest to not, it would be Islam, and even Islam, they're going to appeal to their supreme leaders, right? We only have one supreme leader, it's Jesus. You're going to chastise us, you're going to call us names, you're going to ostracize us, you're going to kill us. All of that's a blessing. All of that is a blessing. Blessed are you who are persecuted in my name, the Bible says. Remember that, my brothers and sisters. It is important. They're trying to put labels on you so that way they can keep you in a box, and if need be, to try to ostracize you from society. If it comes to that, it comes to that. There's only one person we have to answer to, and that's Jesus Christ. It's the same sort of verbiage that you see and attacks that you see. It's akin to being called a Nazi nowadays, right? And Nazis, it's lost all meaning. It's lost all purpose. It really just comes down to they're trying to use a verbiage that will scare you into shutting up, because they cannot argue your point logically speaking. And she's not the only person. Katie Couric isn't, that pretends that we are not a Christian nation. If you do your research, we were founded as a Christian nation. There's no question about that. Anybody who says otherwise is a fool, or hasn't studied enough, whatever it might be. You can argue that we're not a Christian nation anymore. I think that's part of the reason we see a lot of the problems that we do in the United States now. And if we went back to being a Christian nation, maybe things would improve. Anyways, I'm not going to hold you too much longer. I wanted to mainly talk about those points there. He goes on to obviously talk about it, etc. I mainly wanted to talk about these claims, that surround this video, right? And I'm using this video as a catalyst to kind of talk about the surrounding conversation. If we want to deep dive on this, I will happily do that, and I will dismantle any arguments that are in here. And we can do that. Just let me know in the comments. But yeah, otherwise, to be honest with you, Republicans, we got to pump these numbers up. Some of these numbers in the 50s, in the 70s, what are we doing? These numbers should all be in the 95th to 98th percentile at a minimum. This is ridiculous. We need to step it up. We need to do better. Stop being weak. Christian does not mean weak and docile. Jesus stood in the square and called people fools. He called people charlatans. He flipped tables in the temples. We don't have to be weak. I'm not saying we need to do anything crazy. It could just be using your voice to call foolishness out, like this video of Katie Couric, right? That's all. Call her a fool. She's a fool. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Or, worst case scenario, she's willfully attempting to subvert truth to stand against God. That's the options. I'll let you decide. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're new here, please drop a follow. I appreciate you. I love you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.